Welcome. Welcome to Wednesday, a day of inspiration. And I am honored here as we're live on my page to introduce somebody that has really made an impact, not just in myself, because we've connected back in 2020 when the pandemic was hitting, but with so many of the people that are in our environment and in our community. And I titled this live, Going Beyond Your Limits, with Nate Chenard. And the reason why is because if you want to start thinking, and if you're watching this right now and it's live, I encourage you to comment, write down some questions that you're going to be able to obtain from this quick, about 15-minute, 20-minute dialogue. But I want you to really think, and if you're watching this on replay, welcome to the replay, right? So I want you to start, if you want to start thinking about ways to go beyond your limits, then I want you to keep listening, because Nate has an incredible story in how he's shifted so many of his dynamics and philosophies and created essentially a transformation from the inside out. And it has nothing to do with me necessarily as much as it has to do with what Nate has decided he was going to do for himself. So Nate, you have officially tied the bow on your first 90-day Fitastic transformation program. And so how does it feel? Like, how does it feel to be completed with 90 days of committing to yourself?
You know what? To be honest, it just feels like another day. But that's where we're at. Like, you don't even count them anymore. You just do. You just get it done.
It's just part of your everyday life, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd like to say, oh my gosh, it's so fantastic, but I mean, which it is. It's phenomenal, but it's just so ingrained. You know, the things that we've done are just they're just habit now.
Yeah, and so for those that aren't necessarily familiar with what I'm referring to when I say the 90-day transformation, we call it sprint, or we can call it, the method that I've sort of rebranded it. It's really an opportunity for us to sit back and peel back some of the layers of our life and start discovering, some of our limiting, non-supportive beliefs. We start, going over the quality of the questions and thinking that we have, and start really transforming from the inside out. And this is the fourth completion of a sprint that we've done, and we're starting our fifth one on Monday. So Monday the 5th, which is going to be in a few days from today. And let me say this, I can't tell you how fortunate I am to have Nate in our community, because if you're anything like Nate, and you're going to hear this, and when you're listening to our conversation today, you're going to hear some things that are going to resonate with you, and you're going to be very reflective on your own life. And if you're anything like Nate is, then you're going to make a huge impact, not only in your own life, but in the life around you, people around you, your lifestyle, your business, your relationships, your spirituality. I mean, there's so many things that makes an impact when we take the opportunity to choose who we are and what we want to do for ourselves first, right? So let's start here. I mean, which direction do we want to go? I say we start with where it began. And, where were you in your health? Let's say when we first met, because we met actually in You Call It. It was a all body weight program, 30 minutes, quarantine lean, back in, what did we say? It was about 2 weeks after we started.
Yeah. I think I joined second week. So I was like end of March, early April-ish, in that ballpark.
Okay.
So maybe.
So during that time, Nate, help us understand what your health was like. What current state were you in? And perhaps even at that point, what are some of the things that you've tried? What were some of the methodologies or strategies that you've tried to get your health better and maybe didn't work out quite the way you anticipated them to?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we first met, I was in the process of trying very hard to transform myself. I was about maybe 8 months into pretty regular workout routine, working out, running. And the reason why I was trying to do that is because I had let things get a little out of hand um, in the years leading up to that. I was always active, but so I could still always go out and run, 5, 6, 7 miles, whatever, but I was overweight. But what happened is my body just started breaking down. And anyone who knows me knows that I have a serious passion for doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that.
I love to bowl. I love to golf. I love to play basketball. I love to wakeboard. I love to run. So I like to do things they're hard on my body. And it was starting to get to the point where I was getting nagging injuries, just a nagging injury here, a knee injury there, an ankle injury, a forearm, elbow tendonitis, wrist tendonitis, just from not taking care of my body. And it was about 8 months or so before we met. I had to step off the basketball court for forever, or at least for now, because of a meniscus issue that they can't fix. That was driven by playing basketball with excessive weight over the years. I had to take. I missed half of a wakeboarding season due to the same injury. I finished my previous bowling season in awful fashion because I was nursing a bad shoulder and wrist tendonitis, and I could hardly throw the bowling ball. And I just was like, dang it. Like I have never been in a position where I couldn't do the things I wanted to do anymore. That was the first.
And those injuries, what did that do to your physique?
Obviously when you're injured, you can't do things. So, for the month that I sit out, I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm not running because my knees are sore. I'm not wakeboarding. I'm not doing the things that I need to do. So things kind of escalated. And of course I put on more weight at that point. So now I'm getting close to about 254 pounds at the turn of 2020.
Okay.
And so, then,
yep. So what did that do to your confidence? What did that do to your esteem when you were at about 254?
Well, I sure didn't like looking in the mirror. I was never at a point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to wear a shirt everywhere I go or anything like that. But I wasn't happy. I certainly wasn't happy looking at myself. And it wasn't just how I look, how I feel. Like,
right.
I feel good.
Right. So what were some of the things you tried in the past that you thought, you know what, when I stay consistent with this, or I go with this nutrition program, or if I do this exercise program, because you said you were training for 8 months consistently for 8 months. What were you trying and what was the outcome by using strategies?
So, I've tried low calorie diets, just trying to really like suffocate my calories out. Try to put like 1,500 calories in while I'm out, running and burning 2,000 calories in a run. So I'm like, I've done I'm gonna run, negative calorie days on end until I'm at my weight. I've tried keto. But what I was doing when we met is I was doing excessive fasting. I don't know what I'd call it. You can't even call it intermittent fasting because it was like a full on. I would once a week I would do anywhere between a 36 to a 46 hour fast. But I would also be trying to make sure that I was working out heavily on those fast days. My generally speaking, from the time that I stopped eating to the time that I allowed myself to eat, my caloric deficit was probably 7,000 calories.
Wow. So did you achieve a result from that?
I sure did.
Right?
Yeah, I sure did. Man, I was losing weight like crazy. When we met, I was probably sitting right around 235 pounds. So I was already down 20. And man, I was like, I can do this. I was just brute forcing it. And I was like, man, I can just do this, do this, and do this. It's 1 day a week, right? I can just do it 1 day a week. Well, August rolls around and man, it was starting to get so hard. And you'd think that, man, I've been doing it for 8 months now. I should be able to just do it forever, right? But no, my body just started saying, dude, you just cannot do this anymore. It got difficult. All of a sudden my fasting window started to close because my body, like, it was telling me. And as soon as my fasting window closed inside about 30 hours, my weight just started going boop, 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 up, 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 up. And it was just bam. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, I was, at one point I was down to 214 pounds, and I had lost 40 pounds on the dot. And then all of a sudden I was back up to 235. Like, before it was like, I blinked 1 month and I weighed 30 pounds more or 20 pounds.
I mean, one of the foundations in our time together over the last 90 days was the transformation game versus the weight loss game. Okay, so most people play the weight loss game where they're just going to do anything in their power. They're going to go to the gym. They're going to go 9 days per week for 7 hours per day. They're going to go do the extreme intermittent fasting, the small short windows. They're going to have a massive reduction in caloric intake, and they'll do whatever it takes with extreme measure to lose the weight. It works temporarily, right? So yeah, I mean, exactly what you're doing. Where what I coach and promote to is the transformation game. Okay, of course you have a weight loss goal or a weight release goal, but you have a purpose behind that goal. You'll do everything in your power not to satisfy the release of the weight, what the scale's telling you, but you'll do everything in your power to satisfy the purpose and your reason behind you losing that weight or satisfying that scale. So there's a huge difference. So what's different? What did you change? I mean, being through different modalities and strategies, what did you change in our time together about your nutrition that made a bigger difference or a bigger impact?
So the biggest change that I made, besides just eating better, like, obviously eat better, but what really prompted it was when I started tracking my food. When I reached out to you and we were discussing protein, and you were like, I said, Steve, how much protein should I be taking in? And you're like, well, how much do you take in? And I'm like, I don't know. And you're like, all right, well, there's step one. You don't even know what you're doing. So how can we fix what we don't know is going on? So then you had me started tracking my food. And then that evolved into one of my power promises, which we probably will discuss before this is done, where I just was making sure I was tracking my food every day. Everything I ate and drank went into my spreadsheet, which it sounds complicated and time consuming, but it's not. Once you get into the mode, it's, I spend probably a total of 5 minutes a day in my spreadsheet. That's it. And I started to really see where I was losing, where was I losing the battle? What meals, what things were I eating, or was I eating that weren't serving me very well? And I was able to just start kind of slowly trimming those out. And that's still an ongoing process, but it's been very successful.
Awesome. And I thank you for saying that, because I want to go there for a minute. And what gets measured gets improved. And if you don't know your baselines, then we can't expect to create a recommendation. Like, you can't come at me and ask me, hey, how much water should I be drinking? How much protein should I take? How much exercise should I be doing? I want to know what you're currently doing. What's your baseline? How consistent have you been, or what have you been doing or consuming that's created the byproduct of who you are today? And once we have that information, then we can start making incremental changes or implementations that are going to make a big difference. So what else did you measure? What else did you track? And how important is the tracking to you?
So for a little while, I was tracking what time I was eating. And I was trying to make sure that I was cutting off my eating at 8 p.m. And that was more just because I do most of my gratuitous eating after 8 p.m. That's where the chips and the ice cream and everything comes out. And usually by 8 p.m. I've had more than enough calories for the day. So everything that I've had beyond that is, is just excessive. Uh,
Gluttonous.
Other things that we were tracking, I was tracking movement, how long I could, I would have my heart rate elevated for the day. Those were my first two big things that I tracked was food and exercise.
Awesome. And you had mentioned power promise.
Yep.
What does a power promise now mean to you?
Power promise to me now means something relatively small that I can promise myself I will do every single day without fail.
Because essentially that's what gets us into the position of being unhealthy, or not having the integrity, is the fact that we've been a promise breaker. We tell ourselves we're going to do something and we don't do it. So we want to uphold that personal integrity, which is us being a promise keeper. And that has made probably one of the biggest shifts in what I've seen with you, is that you simply just held true to making that small commitment day after day and creating consistency with it. You said something at one point in one of our conversations and in one of our Promise Keeper community calls and talks, was that you didn't realize how simple and sustainable this process was, and it requires, and how little energy it requires for you to create the habit that you've built. And then now, without any effort or very little effort, you're able to maintain that.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I've always been just lasso the bull, or grab the bull by the horns and try to see what comes out of it. When in all reality, probably the biggest thing I took out of being a promise keeper and being part of this community is that doing very small things, but doing them every day, has so much more of an impact, and a much more of a sustainable impact than trying to, carry 20 boulders uphill, which is what I'm doing. Whenever it was time for me to get my butt in gear, quote unquote, when it was time to get healthier, all right, we're running 40 miles a week, and we're biking 200 miles a week, and we're down to 1,500 calories a day, and we're fasting on Thursdays, and all of a sudden it's just boom. Whereas, just saying, hey, I'm just going to do just a little bit of movement. I'm just going to do something as simple as track my food. And all of a sudden, it's just easy. What else?
I mean, it goes back to your original statement, or how you responded when I asked you earlier in our time here this afternoon, is, well, how do you feel? And you're like, well, I feel like it's another day. I feel like it's, just a transition for creating a new habit. Like, there is no difference. You've just changed, or have chosen to cultivate somebody different inside. And when you're doing that and you're focusing on who you're becoming in the process, then it's not grandiose. It's not earth shattering. It's simply you just becoming the better, greater, healthier version, which you're living every day now. Right? So what did you obtain? What were the objective measuring tools, or what did you earn? What's happened to you in the last 90 days? Like, what goals have you obtained?
Yeah, so in the last 90 days, for starters, the number that everybody always wants to know is how much weight did you lose, right? That's the golden goose that everybody's trying to chase. So for starters, I lost 19.4 pounds in 3 months. You released 19.4 pounds, just gone. 19.4 pounds. Bye-bye. 19.4 pounds, and I've never felt an effortless weight loss like that, where I wasn't hungry, I wasn't tired, I wasn't run down. It was just there. It just happened. It was like every week I hop on the scale and there's just another pound and a half, 2 pounds gone. So that's the one everybody always wants to know about. The other things that happened, I'm literally probably 2 notches in my belt too big right now, and it's on the smallest setting. Like, I can pull that thing still, and I could probably punch 2 more holes in it, and that's where I really should be. So my waist has gotten a lot skinnier. I've got I've got a little 2-pack peeking out over the top. I've got my 4-pack is starting to come in a little bit on the sides right now. Uh, my 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 arms shrunk initially at first, but then rebounded with more muscle mass as I've been eating better. So I actually they're the same size as they started because I did all my measurements and whatnot, but they just look good. They look good. My legs are the same way. My legs actually got bigger because they're stronger right now. There's like when I go to measure them, I can feel my muscles just like pushing on the measuring, the tape. So I mean, those are the measurables right there. A lot of good stuff.
So that's all the aesthetic, right? If somebody looks at you and hasn't seen you in a couple months, they're like, wow, I can see a noticeable 20-pound variance in your physique. Tell us, let's wrap this up in a few minutes, but tell us who you've become in the last 90 days.
Yeah. I've become somebody who just is committed and accountable to things that I do. And I just get it done and it without a second thought. I can walk through all the things that I'm doing every day right now that I've just slowly added in. And I didn't even realize I had it. Some of these I just said one day, oh, I want to start doing this. And I didn't even realize, holy crap, I'm doing this every single day. And I didn't even know it. But I had to sit and think about it. So I've got my exercise, right? I've got my food tracking. We discussed the eating after 8 o'clock every day. I just said one day, I said, I'm just going to start stretching. I've been stretching every day for like half an hour a day for probably 22 straight days or almost a month. And I didn't even realize it until I sat back. I'm like, oh my God, I've stretched every day. And then drinking water, I'm drinking, I could go into my food tracker and I can show you that I'm drinking 144 ounces of water over the last 90 days on average. I wake up in the morning and I am able to focus right in and pray and be grateful, spiritually. So it's helped grow me spiritually by being able to just stay committed. My house is cleaner because I guess what I do housework consistently now too. Lots every day. I mean, dude, the list is so long of all these things that I just said, oh, I'm just gonna do this and then just done. And it's not, I did it for 3 days and I'm done. It just immediately assimilated into my identity, my being, and that's just the way it is now. And it's so feeling.
All that byproduct is not the result of you releasing 19.4 pounds. It's the byproduct of you being a committed human now, by you just being committed. So we don't realize it's happening at the time, but it's like, why am I doing all these things that I normally don't do? Is because when you commit, now you commit. You're a committed person, where before you were looking for reasons or excuses not to do things. You weren't that committed to doing things. Now you've made a commit. Now you've dedicated yourself to being committed. And here's the question I have, and I think this would be the one question I think I trust everybody would ask is, Nate, how sustainable is it moving forward?
It feels effortless. This is something that I am assuming has changed my life from now until the day they drop me in a hole in a cabin.
I trust they have a wakeboard in that hole somewhere.
Yeah. It just feels it feels like it's just gonna go forever.
I mean, Awesome. Well, Nate, man, I can't thank you enough for your time and attention here. And I know that you got to get on with your evening. You got some big plans set up, but hey, what you've done for me and what you've done for our Promise Keeper community, man, we're forever grateful for you, and just continue spreading the abundance and appreciation that you have for your own health. Because when we take better care of ourselves, we can take care of more people in our lives. And if we don't take care of our body, then our body's not going to take care of us, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is, I titled this again, Going Beyond Your Limits. And I can identify the fact that you went past some massive limits that you never thought that you could accomplish within 90 days. And I am looking forward to seeing what the next 90 days holds for you, the rest of 2021, and really a lifetime of happiness and health, because you deserve it. So any final words? How would you say someone would need to be prepared if they wanted to participate in a 90-day sprint or a transformation method such as you've been through? Well, like, what's one thing that they would need to be prepared with?
I think that what you need to do a 90-day sprint is really just the will to be better than you were yesterday. I think that's the only thing that people have to show up with. If you just show up with the wants or desire to be better than you were the day before, and you just do that and show up for the 90-day sprint, I think you will win. You will find a way to make it happen, because man, this is like riding with training wheels.
That's it. It doesn't matter how fast the train's going. If you're not on it, you're missing the ride.
Absolutely.
All right, Nate. Hey, appreciate your time again. Go enjoy your evening. If you're ready to go, say, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Take care. Have a great night, everyone.